If I look back on my career, those formative years at Middlesbrough, they were the best years of my career.
Those moments I look back on with pride as well.
The sway of that old gate when the goals and the crosses are coming in and they're flashing across the goal and the crowd are trying to suck it in and the sway and they're falling forward, and I think them's the memories.
But what Rioch achieved in that team, to go from third, second to first in consecutive seasons, was an unbelievable achievement.
People still remember as being heroes or legends or whatever you want to call it, and I'm proud just to be classed in that group. It's an honour.
In the summer of '86, something very special happened at Middlesbrough Football Club. From the brink of disaster, a unique bond was formed. A bond between young men, built through adversity and hardship. It was to become the inspiration for one of the most remarkable periods in borough history. Those lucky enough to have shared in it, experienced it, still find its mythical power hard to explain. They just smile wistfully and talk of something unique, intangible, something they all still share and hold very close to their heart. To try to understand the spirit of '86, we need to look back at some of the truly remarkable events of that time, at how certain key individuals battled and shaped those events to not only pull the club from the brink of liquidation, but who went on to produce and nurture a group of raw, young, inexperienced homegrown players to go on to win promotion to Division 1 in the next 2 consecutive seasons.
There was the horror story of it, then there was the hope in it, and then there was the relief. Everyone kind of grew off the energy that existed. And of course, what happened over the next 2 years, you couldn't script it because it would be pure Hollywood. We just kept winning games of football, and the crowd and Teesside got behind us. It was a very special time.
Towards the back end of Borough's relegation season of '85-86, things were looking increasingly bleak. A rudderless ship shouldered with mounting debts, Middlesbrough FC as a complete entity was sliding gently into the abyss. Step forward Steve Gibson, a young businessman with the club at heart, who set about rallying together a small consortium to try and scrape enough money together to save the club.
It was obvious that the football club had all kinds of problems, and I had a conversation with John Foster, and he said, you know, football club's in a hell of a mess, Steve. Shipbuilding had gone from the T's, the chemical industry was retreating, steel was retreating, and I think at the time we had something like 25, 26%, maybe even more, male unemployment in Middlesbrough. It was horrendous. And the football club was going to be another nail in that coffin.
His chief ally and ultimate saviour was Colin Henderson, the man charged with representing ICI's interests in the club, and the man who would ultimately, with just minutes to spare, hold the very future of the whole club in the palm of his hand.
See, we were all keen on football. That was the driving force, and we would do anything to help the club and then see the benefit on the field. And you know, when you see people like Bruce Rioch and Colin Todd, working miracles really in very difficult circumstances. And the players all being, the players were absolutely fantastic. They were all, decent lads who welcomed the opportunity to get in the first team and play. So all of that was just magic. And then there was all the, involvement with going from the Division 3 then to Division 2 to Division 1 and so on. Absolutely marvellous. So I wouldn't have changed it for anything.
There was some big players in it. People who've gone out of the public eye played very important roles. Graham Fordy, who was very important, as was Reg Corbridge. But perhaps the biggest player in it all was Colin Henderson. And Colin Henderson was magnificent. He was perhaps the one individual that did more to save Middlesbrough Football Club than any other. And he did so at quite a bit of personal risk. And some of the things, the hurdles that he got over, even I don't know. Even though I was there, how we got over some of them were quite extraordinary. But it was a period for shaking hands with the devil in order to save Middlesbrough Football Club, and that's what Colin must have done on more than one occasion.
It was like a collection plate. They went round to see who would give what, and Middlesbrough Council put up 200,000. Scottish Newcastle put 200,000. Moscovitz 200,000, and Gibson put in 125.
The more we delved in, the worse it became. We thought the debt was something, and then that would increase by the day. And we had all of these claims coming out of the woodwork from ex-directors. Some of them were 6-7 years old. And one who had been a previous chairman, we just couldn't believe that he had the cheek, and no shame, can't speak badly enough of them. Really can't.
The trade creditors, most of them in Middlesbrough, agreed to waive their debts. People like Jack Hatfield, people like Walter Patterson, local business people who had the love of the football club at heart. Harry Dredge, the dentist, who'd incurred quite a bit of money looking after Alison's teeth. But then those people like Jack Hatfield and Harry Dredge and all the other local creditors can be proud of what the club's achieved since then, because they contributed. And although they weren't owed the major amounts of money, they were indicative of those people that really love the club.
The Football League set a strict deadline by which all debts had to be covered, and it went right to the wire. Members of the consortium, along with their solicitors in both London and on Teesside, were locked in last-gasp negotiations. And as the minutes ticked by, things became increasingly fraught.
We had things to sort out on Teesside, others had things to sort out in London. And we had to trust each other, that they could get through what they had to get through, and we had to get through what we had to get through. But it was changing by the minute. A crazy situation developed about 5 o'clock because a document that had been signed but hadn't been delivered in the right place because somebody sent it to the wrong address. So there was all kinds of I's to be dotted and T's to be crossed. You just hope that everybody does that they should. And, everyone must have, because we did.
And it was sort of going on all night. Moscovitz solicitor, I think, was there. And then that culminated in them coming to me at 6:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning and saying, ICI have got to guarantee the debt. Will they do it? Well, what do you do?
We had contingency plans. We were going to join the Gola League.
Really?
We'd have joined the Gola League if it would have been the cheapest option, but we would have joined the Gola League with our application ready. We would have had to start again.
I can say hand on heart that if that telephone call, if I said no, that would have been it. That's as near as it came, and you would get that confirmed by anyone else who was involved. It's quite frightening afterwards when you think about it. But of course, at the time, you're only thinking about what's going on at that time. And decisions are taken just like that. It's taking the decision that's the important thing. Making it work afterwards is sort of easy compared to just taking the decision. Feeling was at the end of the day that was a position that was really untenable for me. But there had to be a yes or a no, and it couldn't be a no, could it? It had to be a yes. And it was proved subsequently because Harvey Jones wrote and said, and he was the chairman, how pleased he was and so on. And I met him subsequently, and he said to me, I woke up one morning and found I had a bloody football club. And so he was sort of quite pleased in his entrepreneurial way that, things had gone that way. I was quite pleased and surprised how much it still means to a lot of people who not the people who shout, the people who support us and the people who, love Middlesbrough as much as I do and have actually sort of appreciated what was done at that particular time. So yeah, it was definitely worth it.
With the financial battle to save the club in full swing, the manager was trying to keep his meagre 14-man squad of largely youth team players positive and somehow prepare them for the coming season. No easy task, as most of them weren't getting paid, and the liquidator had locked them out of Ayrsham Park, so there were no proper facilities where they could train.
What a mess that was. You're talking about a pub team. We were a pub team in the summer. We had no idea what was going on. We didn't know where we were training. We got changed in our cars. It was a complete mess, and I just can't see that ever going on ever again. But it did, and I think there's great credit, that we should all think there's great credit to a few people, and one was Gibson for in the background financing it, and secondly for Brushwork, who was the one who was...
He kind of held it together, didn't he?
He was the glue.
We were like gypsies, training at Billingham, training at Norton. But the players were absolutely bonded together, It
was like back at school in Glasgow, it was coats down and stuff like that. It was kind of, now when I think about it, it's kind of funny and embarrassing, but I mean, people must have just been, because anybody could come and watch us, and throw bottles at us or whatever they wanted to do. And but yeah, again, I think it went smoothly and went as easy according to the plan just because we were young.
We were training virtually anywhere there was a piece of grass. I mean, not as bad as that, but we didn't have anywhere really to go. I know we trained at the Sinners and parks and stuff like that, and it was very much a case of just, day by day, we're going to do this. We don't know where it's going to be at, but we're going to do this tomorrow and stuff like that, training-wise and everything else. But the crack with the lads was it was phenomenal.
For a local lad, that's what the news was. Middlesbrough going out of business. It seemed, you talk about, when you hear about modern football clubs, it seems as though every week there's someone on the brink. Whereas, apart from many, many moons ago, I'd never heard of a football club that had gone out of business. So yeah, I was scared. I was scared stiff.
The stadium was like our house, and it was like getting locked out of your own house. We were like, and I remember somebody, I can't remember which player it was, saying to the old gentleman who had the hat on, and the liquidators were there, and he's like, "What do you mean you're locking me out the stadium?" And it was like, we don't care who you are, go away. And it was worrying when you see that happening, because all along we were getting led along, there's going to be that 24 or 12 hour save, the money's coming, don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. And then the stadium's, padlocks on the stadium, then reality does kick in then.
It got a bit scary, to be fair, and the panic started to set in, and because we weren't getting paid, that was the other thing, and nobody can answer it, and we were asking questions, are we going to get paid? And we never got a straight answer. So the alarm bells were ringing massively then.
One particular day we were training at Longlands College and the players were changing in the dressing rooms, and obviously the coaches couldn't go in and change in the same area, so we went into the gym, into the hall, and at the top end there was a cupboard that housed all the equipment for the gym, the vaults, the horses, all the equipment. And we were changing in the pitch black in here and trying to hang our coats and jackets up, and in the dark Toddy turned to me and went, "This is absolutely ridiculous. What are we doing in here?" And I turned to Toddy and I said, "Toddy, it was worse at Torquay."
You know what it was? It was a bunch of lads who just wanted to play football, and it didn't matter whether it was on the park or, you know, I mean, the training facilities the clubs have now are absolutely fantastic, you know, and rightly so, because, you know, it's good that the players have the facilities to do that. But at the end of the day, you just want to play football, don't you? And that's what we did. And whether it was on Albert Park or Stewart's Park or on a training pitch, it doesn't really matter. You get a big bunch of lads together and you just want to play football. And that's what it was like. And it was just like a big bunch of friends, mates getting together for a kick around at times, you know. Obviously, Bruce and Colin had it sort of, you know, organised, but essentially that's what it was.
Do you know what I mean? It was difficult times. I had purchased my first house on Westbourne Road, which is in the heart of Middlesbrough. I didn't drive. I used to walk to training, and it was my first mortgage, and it cost me like 25 grand, which was a massive amount of money for me. And when they stopped the payments, I thought I was on my way out. And even the gear that was in the house, I look at modern day players and reflect back to my own time and Pally's time. My father would bring a second-hand three-piece suite down to Middlesbrough and a television, and do you know, and that's the way it was.
It still looks well though, doesn't it?
I still, so does your gear. And that's what it was all about, you know what I mean?
When they let the dog crap on the training pitch, and we were like doing our sliding tackles in them, you know. So yeah, I mean, I think it was quite nice. I think people remember that, you know, that it was running around the streets and playing in the park, and, you know, maybe it did bring us perhaps closer to the community. I don't know.
And I think I've said many times, I think that summer of '86 is probably the cornerstone on which the modern Middlesbrough has been built. Because had we gone out of business, who knows, huh?
Destitute, homeless, on the brink of extinction, the situation called for someone special, a big personality to hold it all together. That man was the son of a sergeant major, a strict disciplinarian and a quite brilliant coach.
Quite firm. Same as I would to my own son, who's not far away at the moment. But yeah, quite firm. And but they were young enough and responded accordingly. They were terrific. I probably couldn't have been the same way with an elder group of players, because the response would have been different. Married men, families, children, a different way. So I would probably have had to deal with it in a different situation, a different manner.
How are you today, you used to say? Yeah, Pally, is that right? Good morning, how are you today? And if you went, all right, to give you a slap, and he says, no, you feel great this morning. So, and then the next day he'd walk in, how are you this morning? Oh, great, Bruce, that's good. And that's the way he was.
Hey, listen to me! You're too far out!
You know, he wouldn't take any nonsense, and I remember at one of our first sessions he took over in training, and this was on a Friday, and we're going to play on the Saturday, and he wanted this. He wanted us to go into training as though we were playing the game, and he said, "No holds barred, nobody hold back. Any 50-50 challenges, I want you going in." This is on a Friday, for goodness' sake. You know, it's normally preparation day. You just do your free kicks and set plays and so on. And I remember myself and Peter Beagrie at the time went in for a challenge. We both knew the ball was dropping between the pair of us. And the both of us just sort of stopped halfway, knowing that if we follow through here, one of us is going to get hurt. So we pulled out. Whistle went. Bruce absolutely went berserk. He ripped into the pair of us. And he said, you're not going to play on Saturday, if that's the way you're going to continue, we want, you know, get your sleeves rolled up and smash him if you need to. And he's playing now Bruce Rioch's playing in this five-a-side game. So he went, like, carry on. So anyway, we've carried on, and there's a ball bounced between me and Bruce. So, of course, you know, what do you do? I took him out, didn't I? And now, people looked at me and went, you idiot. And I must have been an idiot, because we trained for another hour after that until he got me back. And I remember it well. His elbow and in my mouth seemed to collide. And I'm sure he'll say that my mouth went on his elbow, but I think it was the other way around. Once that happened, he got his own back. He blew the whistle, that'll do, happy days.
Frightened me, frightened everyone when he wanted to, but extraordinary character.
There was a few rows and a few fights on the training ground, which you get in any sort of football club, but in general terms, it was a great period, and everybody had the utmost respect for him. Whether you liked him, whether you didn't like him at that time, I think if you look back now, you'll realise he was good for you.
I don't know why, but the more I think about it, I used to get fined the most, and I thought I was one of the good guys. I mean, I don't know why I got fined a lot. I must have been hanging around with Slavin or something like that. I must have been hanging around with Slavin and Pallister, because every time we bought a player, we used to go, well, we've bought him through our fines. And it wasn't that bad. I mean, the good thing was he set a tone in our appearance of being leaders of the community. Anytime we were out in the community, and if he heard we'd done something wrong, it was just like it was like the principal was coming after you.
Bruce was a hard taskmaster, and obviously players would come to me. Not that I would be against Bruce or anything like that. You know, I would have my own dialogue to put to them. And that's how it is in management. I think Bruce and myself had a great partnership, and it worked extremely well.
Bruce is a very, very good coach, you know, and I think Colin was very good with the players. So whereas Bruce was strict, was very authoritarian, but very, very clever in the way he set sides out, and very clever in giving you the information, what he wanted from you on a football pitch. You knew what your role was on the pitch, you know, and if you didn't adhere to what he'd said, he let you know. And if you did, he let you know as well. So he's fair. But Colin he just loosened the atmosphere a little bit, because it could get a bit too tight, a bit, you know, too strict at times. And Colin was very important.
He was very much in charge, which annoyed me at the time, but you know, once he'd left, I realised how good he was, really.
He was a real stickler for making sure things were right, and being honourable and being respectful for everybody, and he was really top man.
I think we all felt secure under Bruce, even though he was very, very heavy-handed, or whatever people may say or people may do or think about the man. We all stayed for that reason, no matter what. We were very, very comfortable with him. And I knew individually myself that what a great coach he was.
And he'd say to somebody on the pitch, just move a couple of yards to your left, and it'd be a corner, and the ball would just drop straight to them. And you think, how does he know that? You know, just looking back on it, you know, it was really, compared to what had gone on before, it was miles ahead of what we were doing before.
And I've got to be honest, he treated me like, probably like a surrogate son. Took me under his wing, nurtured, helped, pushed, cajoled, patted on the back, scolded if necessary, like, as I say, like a surrogate father. So he was really, really good. I think for the formative years of my football career, between Bruce, Willie Madron, who was my youth team coach, and some school teachers, they were the ones that were the building blocks for my football career.
The Godfather. And I know he won't want me to say that, but he is. I mean, everybody really respects him, particularly at those times, and we've got a lot of time for him, and that's how close we were as a team as well. You know, not just, although he had a sternness about him, we were all close, and there's no doubt about that. That time brought us so tight, nobody could get in.
I remember, I think we were playing Sheffield United away, And we scored. And Bruce turned round to us and says, look at their bench. Look at them. They know they're beat now. Because we had such a good defensive record. He says, well, look at them. They know they're not going to score. And it was incredible. That's the type of things that he turned around and said to you, and you would go, how does he know that? Or why does he think that? And then he'd explain it to you, and you go, that's right, yeah.
Our philosophy always was, no matter the fact we've had a little whinge here, somebody walk outside that door and face players or anybody else, we're the brightest pair that you can ever see, ever. So that nobody ever got the feeling or the vibes that even we were thinking sometimes, well, this is a bit crazy. But
so you never show it?
Never.
Show it to the,
no, you'd never show it. And you don't show it to your players anyway. I mean, it's one of the great qualities you need as a manager. You don't show any fear or any worries or any concerns. No, you just get on with the job.
I had many a bus up with Bruce. You know, many a bus up. One of the best laughs was, I was actually reminding him the other night, was when we went to Bermuda. And I'm Pally's roommate at the time. And we went to London to stay overnight. And all the way down in the coach, I'm saying to Tommy Johnson, the physio, listen, Tommy, I need some sort of a tranquiliser because I don't like flying. Bermuda's a fair few hours. And I don't drink to disguise my fear. I need Valium or something. Oh, we'll get you when we get to London. So we go to... And I'm rooming with the big man and I'm saying, Pally, I tell you what, he's not come up with the tablets. That's right, isn't it?
I tell you what, for about 4 hours, he was up and down, out, talking to other people. I was trying to get to sleep. We were up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So at 1 o'clock, I've actually got his dad on the phone to say, listen.
No, you've twisted the story. So we're in the room and he's saying...
I twisted the story. Oh, right.
So here we go.
One.
So he's going, look, just get to sleep. You're going in. I'm saying, look, I can't go. I'm going to head off. Look, if you do that, I'm phoning your father. And I went, Pally, I'm 28 years of age.
I actually spoke to your father.
Oh, you did eventually because you phoned him. I'm saying, you can't phone my dad. I'm 28 years of age. And then
I was desperate to get a kip.
I know you were.
And I realised that the extent of what you were going to do, if he was going to leave the hotel and go home, you know what I mean, what the repercussions could be, it could have been
I wasn't worried about that. I wasn't worried about it.
But he was panicking.
So then it was, I'm going to phone Bruce. And I said, well, if you do that, I'm definitely, me and you's finished. And he knows what I'm like. So anyway, the dust settled. Pally fell asleep.
He's going to dump me.
Pally fell asleep. He gave me a kiss and a cuddle. He said, come on, Ben. I said, get away, Pally. So anyway, big man fell asleep. I could hear him snoring in the dark. And I couldn't sleep because I was up to either. So I sneaked out of the bed. He's snoring away. That was indication he was sleeping with the snoring. He was like, when all the drawers were opening and shutting, the curtains were opening and shutting with the snoring.
It's like a Tom and Jerry cartoon.
And I got on my bags, went into the bathroom because I obviously know he goes to the toilet in the morning. I put a note, big man, enjoy Bermuda, see me get back, hope you have a great time. Left it on the toilet pan and headed into the night.
So I remember it was big man, sorry couldn't make the flight.
Oh, well, maybe,
see you when you get back.
Yeah, something like that.
I was like that because I got up in the morning. Obviously, I've like put the light. Oh, we got an early morning call. That's it. It was 6 o'clock or whatever it was. So I put the light on and I just see nobody in the bed. I thought, nah. So I've gone to the toilet and there's this note on the toilet seat. You know what I mean? Saying, sorry, big man, couldn't face the flight. I thought he can't have done. No, he can't. I had to go to Bruce's room. Fortunately, Toddy,
you grasped me.
Toddy came to the door and. Toddy, Bernie's done a runner.
A dog in a fog.
Toddy thought I was doing, Toddy just thought I was taking a mick. You know what I mean? So he's gone into Bruce and said, Pally says Bernie's done a runner, he's gone home. So he just sort of, I just heard him say, right, we'll sort it out. And
so
anyway, yeah.
So what's happened, obviously I'm talking about Bruce, we're talking about Bruce here. So anyway, I had
where we're going with that.
Yeah, so it gets to like King's Cross like 4 or 5 in the morning. There's guys, skinheads, scars, like tramps. I'm thinking, dear me, I'd probably been better getting on the flight. Pally returned from Bermuda. He says, oh, Bruce, you're for the chop. Let alone plane, you'll be more or less out there. You'll be gone.
I was trying to deliver the news kind of like gently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He was looking tanned and wonderful, and I'm sitting there like strained.
Pack your bags. Nice houses back in Glasgow.
Yeah, so it ends up, we go to the training ground at Durham, Maiden Castle, and I'm in the dressing room. All the lads are all looking tanned, and they're going, you're getting it. Joe Hunt came down, the kit man at the time. Bruce wants to see you. All the lads are going, oh, you've had it. So I walked up like a quivering Rick, opened the door. He says, sit down. And I'm waiting in an explosion because Bruce was out ahead. And he just went the opposite. He went, look, why didn't you tell me about this fear? I said, I have told you. I says, the bottom line was you'd have dragged me on the plane. And he says, look, I need to find you 2 weeks' money. I says, fine. And then he went in his pocket and he brought this bit of newspaper and he says, look, it's a phobia. Get yourself sorted. And that was it. So what I was expecting, that was what Bruce was good at, wasn't it? When you expected a battering, a verbal battering, he never done it. It used to be the opposite. If you won 3-0, he'd come in and hammer you.
Nah,
if you beat 3-0, he would cuddle you. And you
so they expected and always got it.
Yeah, but you deserved it. But that was Bruce. There was a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing to Bruce. You could never read into him. He was a bit of a mystery.
He could make a speech and it was better than Churchillian. It would just make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. And it had a real rallying cry. He was the glue that kept it all together.
He was the best thing that happened to this club, ever, in my opinion. You know, without him, it could have been an absolute disaster. And we saw him at the other night we had to do for Gary Parkins, and I walked through the door and he was there, and he was open arms. He was giving me a hug. I didn't know what to do actually, because that wasn't the relationship I had with him 20 years ago. You know, in fact, I even contemplated having a shave before I came to the do. But yeah, he was fabulous. Really, he sort of moulded a small group of players, inexperienced players, into essentially what was a pretty good side by after 3 or 4 years.
I loved playing for him. I loved listening to his team talks because they were inspiring. In general terms, I've never really listened to a team talk since he left.
They went through it all together, that young raw squad of '86, never really sure if they were coming or going, training in the park and often going for weeks without pay. And yet through it all that adversity and camaraderie, something very special happened.
The movie and the TV programme, The Band of Brothers, but these really were a band of brothers. And you will never, ever hear one of those players criticise the other. They might do in fun, but they would never criticise, and that's because of the special and unique bond that they have with each other.
We actually enjoyed each other's company off the field as well. I think that becomes rarer and rarer in football now, because as soon as people leave a game or the training ground, they split to the four winds. There isn't a real inside group. I might be wrong, I'm sure there are clubs that have a real strong camaraderie, but that's what it was. We had a real strong group.
The foundation of the success of the team came in that summer, in that adversity actually. That's what I always feel that. I think the camaraderie that was developed, the bond between the players, where we looked after each other. And that was, you could see that in the way we played.
I just think we were all in it together. I think we had 13 or 14 players, whereas now you've got 40 players in a squad. We were very close-knit. We got very few injuries, which was another good thing.
There's a few characters in the dressing room. I mean, I got on very well with Gary Hamilton, and he was a right handful in the dressing room, and still is. I met him. I haven't seen him for the best part of, I think it was 18 or 19 years, he said. And he was just the same, he was just the same sort of abrasive Scotsman we remember. So it was nice seeing him, and there's quite a few stories that I probably couldn't tell on camera, and I best keep it at that, I think.
Wasn't it with the bleached blonde brigade?
Blonde, I was
there
the
was
only natural
Pally,
one. No, there wasn't nothing bleached about, man, you know that, don't you?
There was Pally, Mugger, Coops, Ripper and Parky. The only natural was Parky. The rest were I just said the big...
So you think I'll bleach my hair? Did you ever see me bleach my hair?
I didn't see you, but I know you did. You don't need to bleach it now, you need to dye it.
I'll show you a picture of me as a kid when I was white blonde. That's how blonde I was. But no, he's right what he said. They were all, we had a few of them with the old bleach bit and all that. It was in the days of the new romantics, wasn't it, and all that. Yeah. Bernie was still a punk rocker, but he was
they thought they were
behind times. Was it? No, Bay City Roller, sorry, that was his. He used to come down with a scarf on.
I've still got the trousers. Yeah, I've still got the trousers. They used to wear the white with the tap up the sides.
We did laugh through it. We had good camaraderie, and there was no big time Charlies here. We were all honest.
Wasn't much room for him.
The one, well, couldn't afford a big time Charlie anyway. But it was, because we're all, hard working lads who knew they had to earn some money to live, and I think that, like I said, that was the important part. And because Bruce had 14 or 15 players like that, it allows to carry on.
You know, in any walk of life, you know, and any dressing room in football afterwards and stuff, you don't always get on with everybody in that dressing room, you know. But at that particular time, because of what had happened, because of the group that was there, and because we were all very similar, and we used to hammer each other as well. You know, you know, it was a tough school. It was a tough dressing room to be in, but it was never nasty. It was, you know, it was a hard school, and you had to join in. And it was hard working on the football pitch as well, but we were all together.
Any bad news that was coming out, and there was a lot of bad news coming out, we used to just show it under the paper, and talk to the players with a positive attitude. And that's how we went along, very, very positive. There was never any negatives in the football club. And obviously them players had the belief and the trust in us.
Sometimes you put a team together and that spirit just isn't there. All the talent in the world is. You've got some great talent, you've got all the reasons why it should work, and it just doesn't. And that's why clubs who aren't expected to get relegated, why clubs who should perform better don't.
We all had a bit of fun, but I think we really, really appreciated everybody who worked for us, if you like. Because at the end of the day, the people, the groundsman, the kit lady, the tea lady, security guards, they were all working for us, really. And for us, by hook or by crook, being able to give something back, I think was a big amount of pleasure, certainly for me. And I'm sure it was for the rest of the lads too. A
lot of the time in football, we look at the individuals, but it's a team game, football, and everybody has to play their part. And sometimes, you know, your full-backs maybe don't get the glory that the centre forwards do, but you can't live without them. You know, we had one of the best goalkeepers in the country. You know, in my opinion, one of the best goalkeepers I've ever played with. So, you know, all of the lads really played their part.
Morgan. He was a lady, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
He was the guy that everybody, you know, became a man overnight, really, when he got the captaincy and he led that club, really. You know, as much as we had Brian Laws there and Archie and Persey and all that, he was the guy that everybody sort of looked up to and respected, and he was the heart and soul of that side. I mean, as I say, there were some terrific players in it, but he was the guy, he was a leader.
The camaraderie hasn't changed, and that's unbelievable. You know, you have reunions with players and clubs, and you go back and you'll see people who you've not seen for a long time. But it's like as though we've just been together for years, and you know, you just met a few people there, and I've not seen them for years. But it's like as though we were, we're being seeing each other every day. That's the camaraderie, and I think that's the respect that we have for each other.
It's been a long time, and I've not seen Bruce. Now we're talking, I've not been here 15 years. I've not seen Bruce for longer than that, and I think even he got a tear in his eye. So it just goes to show what it meant, hopefully, to him. But I know he knows now what it meant to me.
And it might sound a bit corny, but we played for the club. You know, we played for ourselves. Every player plays for himself because he plays for his career, for his family, or whatever. But there was a definite element where we were all playing for this club. We felt that we owed them, we had an obligation to fight and scrap every game.
There is that saying in football that you don't have friends, you're like ships that pass in the night. It happens. But I think at that particular point, certainly in my career, I think I found a group of people who, as I say, enjoyed playing with, enjoyed working with, enjoyed socialising with, and it does create a bond.
We didn't really talk about how close we were just were close.
This group of guys, this period and the group of guys here will always have a bond with each other. They may not see each other for 15 years as a figure, and then there's a get-together, and they'll all be together, and it'll be as though they've never been away from each other. It's absolutely unique, and that's what history does. It creates, and for me personally, it was just a fantastic experience. One I'm delighted I went through.
Once they started winning, they just couldn't stop. 86-87, they took the third division by storm, securing promotion with a game to spare. Then, straight off the back, 87-88, a nail-biting two-leg playoff victory over Chelsea secured a miraculous return to the top flight and sealed their place in footballing folklore.
They head for the first division and Chelsea go back to the second.
It was like a runaway train. Nobody could stop her. And whoever stood in our way was brushed aside, and it was amazing that it stemmed from that, but it was a united team that were prepared to fight and prepared to back each other. You know, like I said, there was nobody who was isolated, there was nobody who thought he was bigger than anybody else. Everybody, and if you're on that park and the players, and you made a mistake, the players are the ones that were giving you the rollicking. It wasn't Bruce, it was the players on the pitch, because the standards of which were set. It was a mould of which the players have took on.
The opposition would know that when we scored a goal, they felt they couldn't beat us because we could keep clean sheets. And that's a great thing to have in your team when you're going onto the pitch, knowing that once we get the first goal, the opposition think, we can't beat them. That's what you have to put into your best teams. The ability to go into the pitch, not only with the talent, but psychologically up here, to know those players know that they can win any match and every match that they go on the pitch to. They may not, but that they can do that. And to transcend that into the opposition, that the opposition think, this is so tough today.
Camaraderie takes them beyond the talent, the sheer talent of you know, over £80 million footballers. So I think there's a lot to be said for team spirit, for camaraderie, for togetherness.
They came men very, very quickly, you know, and I think that adversity helped them to succeed in what they were doing. And on top of that, most of them were homegrown. So we had a team who, when you look back and you saw them day to day, that ability, it started to blossom.
My fantastic memories of that first season, the 86-87 season, was, I've just looked in the book, so I know I'm right, there was 32 clean sheets. Oof. Which is, it must be some sort of record really. 27 in the league.
Must have had a good keeper, eh?
Must have had a good defence. And we did, yeah.
And once the belief started and confidence started to flow in the team, I think everybody could see that was a side that should have won, actually. That I think was the old third division title. I think we came second to Bournemouth, which shouldn't have happened actually. We should have won that. We were the best team in that league.
If you look back over that season, our approach to the game of football wasn't negative. It was a strong attitude to try to win the game, but with discipline in the side, and we had a very good discipline in terms of a pattern of play and a shape and a well organised, but tried to play our football.
Bruce and Toddy liked to play the right way. The ball was passed. You know, we played expansive football. We played, you know, with wide players. You know, and it was great to watch. I'm pretty sure most people in that era would have really enjoyed playing that. But what the point you've made is a good one. At the back, we were very, very solid. We had a great goalkeeper and we had a fantastic defence. So we didn't concede much.
The game wouldn't have got finished today because the supporters were actually on the touchline all the way around the pitch, like 4 deep, not in the stands. They were actually on the touchline, on the line, and every time the referee blew a whistle, whether it was a free kick and offside, they were on the pitch, and it kept stopping and starting, and yet I can't really recall that, yet there it was in front of my eyes on YouTube. We won 2-0 at Doncaster that day. used the positive vibes of going on great runs and the adversity of it and getting a promotion, and just sort of used all that positive energy and that close-knit group to win tight football matches, because in the competitive world of football, the fine margins make a difference, and if you were pulling for your mate next to you and you go the extra inch, it makes a difference in tight games.
"25 years on, and the band of brothers are back together again. They've agreed to play a game and join a special party to support their stricken teammate Gary Parkinson, horrifically lying injured following a stroke. Though their thoughts are clearly with Parky, it's not hard to see that this reunion is just a little bit special for both players and fans alike.
Killing them.
Suck it in, Nookie boy!
And so it all comes flooding back, and the years just seem to roll away. All of us, each and every fan, manager, player, consortium member, whoever we are, we each treasure our own special moments from that remarkable time. Memories of the spirit of '86. Days to cherish forever.
Best time of my life. As a Middlesbrough supporter, the best time of my life. A bunch of local lads.
All these lads just fought for each other, and that's what makes it so emotional. I've supported the Borough now since 1958, and this set of lads gives something back to you.
I think it's a great thing to acknowledge what happened, you know, and what Bruce and the players and Colin Todd did in those days, and Colin Henderson and Steve Gibson. I think it should be remembered like that.
It's all been part of a unique experience, and I think unique insofar as not liquidation, but the group of players and the promotions that came very quickly following the liquidation, and the way the club raised itself. It just raised itself out of the ground and took off, and it's been going ever since.
Take two.
Yeah,
Take one.
Could be a few takes, this.
Hollywood production camera, take two.
Olympica.
It came to an end. That's the saddest thing.